I did like it. I thought it was beautiful. His widescreen shots were just stunning, and I appreciated the complexity of the characters. It was a very complex balance, I thought, between the kids and their relationship with the father coming back after not seeing them for years, and that kind of mixture of pleasure and yearning, and yet anger and misery. I was a bit confused by a few things. I thought that the younger boy at the beginning seemed to be such a, he was presented in the film as being so, for lack of a better word, weak, and then all of a sudden, as soon as the father comes on the scene, he's this angry young man. But I thought that overall that it was the complexity of the relationship between all the three characters that kind of pulled me through the film. But what really kind of pulled the film together for me were the stills at the end. First of all, they were extraordinarily beautiful, and second of all, and I haven't read anything about the film, so I don't know whether this was his intention, but the stills showed an adventure that all the characters that were captured were having this remarkable time. That you see, like, the crack of a smile, you see these beautiful vistas behind them, and it actually looks like a documentation of a great family trip, and yet the journey there was an absolute mess, miserable for everybody involved.
So a very clever final move.
Yeah, and was that, I don't know whether that was his intention or whether it's some statement about how we remember things,
There's something strangely touching about those stills at the end, isn't there? I thought that as well. I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. But
I think it made it feel more real, didn't it? It made it feel like what you'd seen had been more.
I think Gillian's also right that I hadn't really thought of that, but actually the perspective suddenly shifts on the whole story.
I felt like I liked the thing as a whole a lot more because of those stills at the end.
Was there enough on screen involving the father for you to believe his relationship with the son? Did you want to know more about where he'd come from, why he'd come back, why he'd left in the first place? Because that's left very open, isn't it?
I quite like that about it. It does give such a sense of menace, particularly the moments when the father is, on the verge of violence or whatever, and you suddenly think, well, is he really even their father? As indeed the boys every now and again ask themselves. I like the fact that it was, very mysterious. There was such a sort of sense of doom about the movie, and just things being very, very slightly awry. And I think if it had been a little bit too literal about the father and why he left, and the mother too was such a sort of weird cipher figure, just this sort of endlessly enveloping, nurturing mother who is either hugging him or cooking him a meal.
I love the film, and as I said at the end, I felt really strangely moved by it, and these stills in particular, and I think that probably did have something to do with the fact that we all know that the young actor died, and that somehow seems so appropriate, and the whole to the themes of the movie, that he drowned. Unlike Gillian, actually thought that the anger and resentment felt by this little boy towards his father, but the yearning to be loved and the yearning to have his father pay attention to him, that sort of conflict within him was really strong, actually, and I find that very, this may be betraying something about my own family background, but I find that very, very touching.